The Story of Ruth, a biblical sleep story. A Lamplight Bible story. Close your eyes now. Let the sounds of the day grow distant. Let your breathing slow. With each breath you take, feel your body sinking deeper into rest, your thoughts growing quieter, like a fire that gradually settles into glowing embers. There is nowhere you need to be tonight. There is nothing left to do. The day is finished, and you are safe. Tonight, we travel together to a land far away and long ago, to the gentle hills and golden fields of ancient Bethlehem. The air there smells of warm grain and dry earth. The sky is wide and deep, filled with more stars than you could ever count. The wind moves softly through the fields, and somewhere in the darkness, an oil lamp burns in a small stone house. This is the world we are entering tonight. This is the world of Ruth. Let your body grow heavy. Let your hands relax. Let your breathing deepen as we begin. In the land of Moab, east of the Jordan River, there was once a small family who had traveled far from home. Elimelech, a man from Bethlehem, had brought his wife Naomi and their 2 sons to Moab during a time of famine. They had left the land of Israel hoping to find food, hoping to survive the dry season, hoping for better days ahead. And for a time, life continued. The 2 sons grew into young men. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah, and one named Ruth. The family settled. There was laughter in the house, the ordinary rhythm of daily life, the small comforts that make a home. But then sorrow came. Elimelech died. And then, in time, both of Naomi's sons died as well. In the ancient world, a woman without a husband, without sons, was deeply vulnerable. There were no savings, no safety nets, no institutions to turn to. Everything depended on family, on the land, on the kindness of others. And so Naomi was left, 3 women in a foreign land, widowed, without men to protect or provide for them, without a clear path forward. Naomi heard that the Lord had blessed the land of Israel with a harvest. The famine had ended. There was bread again in Bethlehem. And so she rose, and she made the decision to go home. To return to the land and the people she had left behind so many years ago. She kissed her daughters-in-law. She wept with them. And she said to them with great tenderness, with a mother's love, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's house. May the Lord show kindness to you, as you have shown kindness to your husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you find rest in the home of another husband." It was a release. A blessing. A letting go. Orpah wept. She kissed Naomi. And she turned back toward Moab, toward the life she had known, toward her own people and her own gods. But Ruth clung to Naomi. Naomi said to her gently, almost pleading, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." And Ruth lifted her face. And she spoke. These words have echoed through thousands of years. These words have been spoken at weddings, whispered in grief, read aloud in times of parting and reunion. They are among the most beautiful words in all of Scripture. Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go I will go. And where you lodge I will lodge. Your people shall be my people. And your God my God. Where you die I will die. And there will I be buried. May the Lord do so to me and more also. If anything but death parts me from you. Where you go, I will go. Pause and let those words settle. Feel the weight of them, the beauty of them. This was not obligation. Ruth owed Naomi nothing. Her husband was dead. She was a young woman, free to return to her own family, her own land, her own future. But she chose otherwise. She chose love. She chose faithfulness. She chose to walk into the unknown because she would not abandon the woman beside her. This is the heart of the story of Ruth. Everything else flows from this moment, this choice, this extraordinary act of love made quietly on a dusty road between two countries. And so the two women walked together. The road from Moab to Bethlehem was long. They traveled through dry hills, across rocky paths, past small villages and empty stretches of wilderness. The sun was hot in the day, and the nights were cool and quiet. Perhaps they spoke as they walked, sharing memories, sharing fears. Perhaps there were long stretches of silence, the comfortable silence of two people who have mourned together and no longer need to fill the air with words. Step by step, the hills of Moab fell behind them. Step by step, the familiar landscape of Israel came into view. And at last, they arrived in Bethlehem. When they entered the town, there was a stir. The women of the town gathered, surprised, curious. "Is this Naomi?" they asked. And Naomi said, and there is such sorrow in these words, "Do not call me Naomi. Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi, when the Lord has testified against me and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me?" Naomi. The name means pleasant. Mara means bitter. She had gone out full, with a husband, with sons, with hope. She had returned empty. Or so she believed. Because standing beside her, having walked every step of that long road, having chosen her over comfort and safety and familiarity, was Ruth. And Ruth was not nothing. Ruth was everything. It was the beginning of the barley harvest when they arrived. The timing was not coincidence. In the story of Ruth, nothing is coincidence. The harvest was beginning. The fields were full. And Ruth, practical and determined, turned to Naomi and said quietly, "Let me go to the fields and glean among the ears of grain after him in whose sight I shall find favor." To glean was to follow behind the reapers, the workers who cut the grain, and gather whatever stalks they left behind. It was work designed by Mosaic law to provide for the poor and the foreigner. The fields were not supposed to be harvested to their very edge. The farmers were commanded to leave something behind for those who had nothing. Naomi said simply, "Go, my daughter." And Ruth went. She came, without knowing it, to a field belonging to a man named Boaz. He was a man of wealth and standing, a man known for his integrity, a relative of Naomi's late husband. The field stretched out wide and golden under the morning sky. The reapers moved through the rows in long sweeping motions, binding the cut grain into sheaves. The air was warm, smelling of dust and dry grass and the particular sweetness of ripe grain. Ruth began to glean. She bent and gathered. She moved quietly through the stubble left behind by the reapers, picking up one stalk at a time, then another, then another. The other workers moved around her. Perhaps some of them glanced at her, a foreigner, young, working with her head down and her hands steady. She did not complain. She did not ask for more than what was hers by right. She simply worked. The sun climbed. The heat grew. The reapers rested. Ruth continued. And then Boaz arrived. He came from Bethlehem, walking into his fields with the confident ease of a man at home in his world. He greeted his workers warmly, "The Lord be with you." And they answered him in kind, "The Lord bless you." The affection between them was genuine. This was not a cold landlord surveying his property. This was a man who knew his workers, who cared for them, who was cared for in return. Boaz's eyes moved across the field. And they stopped. He turned to his foreman. "Whose young woman is this?" The foreman answered carefully. He explained that she was the Moabite woman who had returned with Naomi. He described how she had asked permission to glean, how she had worked from early morning with only a short rest in the shade. His tone carried something like quiet admiration. Boaz walked toward Ruth. He spoke to her gently, not as a landowner to a gleaner, but as one person to another, with respect and warmth. "Listen, my daughter. Do not go to glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn." Ruth was overwhelmed. She fell with her face to the ground and said, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" She knew what she was. She knew how the world worked. A foreign woman gleaning in a stranger's field had no right to expect kindness. She expected to be tolerated, perhaps ignored. She did not expect to be welcomed. And Boaz answered her. His words were careful and deliberate. He had heard about her. News traveled in small towns. The whole of Bethlehem knew what Ruth had done for Naomi, how she had left her own family, her own country, her own gods, and walked into an unknown land out of loyalty to a grieving old woman. "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me," Boaz said. "How you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Let those words rest in your heart for a moment. There is an image in the Hebrew scriptures of God as a bird spreading wings over the vulnerable, sheltering them from the heat and the storm. It is a tender image. An intimate one. Boaz was saying to Ruth, "I see your faithfulness. I see your courage. And the God whose wings you have sheltered under, he sees it too." Ruth said softly, "I have found favor in your eyes, my lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants." At mealtime, Boaz invited her to eat with his workers, bread, and wine vinegar to dip it in, and roasted grain. He handed her the food himself. She ate until she was satisfied, and there was some left over. When she rose to continue gleaning, Boaz quietly instructed his young men, "Let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. And also pull out some from the bundles for her and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her." He gave her more than she asked for. He gave her more than she expected. He gave her, in the quiet language of actions, a covering, a protection. The afternoon passed. The shadows grew long. The reapers gathered their tools and began to drift toward home. Ruth worked until the light faded, and then she beat out what she had gleaned. It was a full ephah of barley. More than a day's ordinary gleaning. Far more than she could have hoped. She lifted the grain onto her shoulders and walked back to Naomi. Naomi looked up when Ruth came in. She saw the grain, the remarkable, surprising abundance of it. She looked at Ruth with wide eyes. "Where did you glean today? And where have you worked? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." Ruth told her. She mentioned the name of the man in whose field she had worked. Naomi's breath caught. "The man is a close relative of ours," she said. "He is one of our redeemers." In ancient Israel, there was a concept called the kinsman redeemer, the goel. A close male relative had both the right and the responsibility to redeem a family member in need, to buy back lost land, to restore what had been lost, to provide and protect. Boaz was such a man. He was close enough in family to act as their redeemer. Naomi's mind began to move with new hope. "It is good, my daughter," she said, "that you go out with his young women, lest in another field you be assaulted." And so Ruth continued. Day after day, she returned to Boaz's fields. She gleaned with his workers through the barley harvest and then through the wheat harvest. Weeks passed in the rhythm of early rising, long hours in the fields, quiet evenings with Naomi. A simple life, but a life being rebuilt, one day at a time, one armful of grain at a time. And through it all, Boaz watched. He provided for her quietly, consistently. He made sure she was safe. He made sure she had enough. When the harvest was finished, Naomi spoke to Ruth. "My daughter," she said, "should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Is not Boaz our relative, with whose young women you were? See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash therefore and anoint yourself, and put on your cloak and go down to the threshing floor, but do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." It was an act of trust in Naomi, trust in Boaz, trust in the God who had guided every step of their journey so far. Ruth said simply, "All that you say I will do." That night, she went to the threshing floor. The harvest was finished. There was feasting and celebration and the easy exhaustion of men who had worked hard and eaten well. Boaz lay down to sleep. In the deep of the night, Ruth came softly. She uncovered his feet. She lay down. And at midnight, Boaz stirred. He turned and looked. And there was a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am Ruth, your servant," she said. "Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer. Spread your wings over me." She was asking for his protection. For his covering. Using the very image he had spoken over her in the fields, the wings of God as shelter, and asking him to be that shelter for her. Boaz was moved. He spoke carefully, warmly. "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman." A worthy woman. In Hebrew, the phrase is eshe chayil, a woman of valor. It is the same phrase used in Proverbs 31. Boaz was not simply paying her a compliment. He was naming what he saw in her: courage, faithfulness, strength. But there was one complication. There was another kinsman redeemer, a man closer in relation than Boaz. The proper thing, the legal thing, was to give that man first right of refusal. "Remain tonight," Boaz said, "and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good. Let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then, as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until the morning." Ruth lay down at his feet until dawn. She rose early, before it was light enough for anyone to recognize her. Boaz filled her cloak with 6 measures of barley, as much as she could carry, and sent her back to Naomi. Naomi asked, "How did it go, my daughter?" Ruth told her everything. And Naomi said with quiet certainty, "Wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest but will settle the matter today." And she was right. Boaz went to the city gate, the place where business was conducted, where legal matters were settled, where the elders gathered as witnesses. He sat down and waited. And the nearer kinsman redeemer passed by. Boaz called him over. He gathered 10 of the elders of the city. And he laid out the situation carefully. Naomi was selling the parcel of land that had belonged to Elimelech. The closer relative had the first right to redeem it, to buy it and keep it in the family. The man said he would redeem it. And then Boaz added the second part. "The day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the widow of the dead, in order to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance." The other man paused. He thought about the implications: another wife, a foreign woman, children who would carry the name of the dead man, complications to his own inheritance. He shook his head. "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I impair my own inheritance. Take my right of redemption yourself, for I cannot redeem it." He drew off his sandal and handed it to Boaz. It was the ancient custom. The sandal exchange was the seal of the agreement. And it was witnessed by all the elders at the gate. Boaz turned to the witnesses and spoke with quiet joy, with the dignity of a man who has done something right and knows it. "You are witnesses today that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech and all that belonged to Chilion and to Mahlon. Also Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brothers and from the gate of his native place. You are witnesses this day." And all the people at the gate said, "We are witnesses." And they blessed him. They blessed Ruth. They invoked the names of Rachel and Leah, the mothers of Israel. They prayed that his house would be like the house of Perez, born to Judah through Tamar, another woman who had come from unlikely circumstances into the great story of God's people. Boaz and Ruth were married. And the Lord, who had been present through every quiet step of this story, through the death and the grief, through the long road from Moab, through the fields and the gleaning and the night on the threshing floor, the Lord gave Ruth a son. They named him Obed. Naomi took the child in her arms. She held him against her chest, this small warm life, this new beginning born out of so much loss. The women of the town gathered around her and said, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer, and may his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age, for your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him." More to you than 7 sons. 7 was the number of completeness in ancient Hebrew thought. To say that Ruth was worth more than 7 sons was to say she was worth more than everything. It was the highest honor the women of the town could give her. And Naomi, who had called herself Mara, who had said she had returned empty, who had told the women of the town to look at how bitter her life had become, Naomi held the child and was full again. Obed grew up. He had a son named Jesse. And Jesse had a son named David. A foreign woman. A widow. A gleaner in a field. And her faithfulness became part of the family line from which the greatest king of Israel would be born. And from that same line, centuries later, in a small town in Bethlehem, the very town where Ruth and Boaz had built their life, a child would be born whose name would be spoken in every nation under heaven. This is what faithfulness does. It echoes. It ripples outward in ways we cannot see or measure. It becomes part of something far greater than itself. And so, as the story comes to its close, let the night wrap around you like a warm cloak. Think of Ruth, walking through the fields at dawn, dew on the grain, the sky lightening slowly above the hills of Bethlehem. Think of her steady hands, her quiet courage, the love she carried that never asked for recognition. Think of Naomi, sitting in the doorway of a small stone house, watching the light change, holding a grandchild she never expected to have. Think of Boaz, a man of integrity who noticed kindness and honored it. Who used the power and position he had to protect and provide for those who had nothing. Think of all the small, faithful choices that made this story, the decision to stay, the early morning walk to the fields, the honest work, the word spoken at midnight at the threshing floor, the sandal given at the city gate. No single moment was dramatic. No trumpet sounded. No seas parted. It was just two women, and a man with a good heart, and a God who was working quietly through all of it. That is how most of the great stories really happen. Not in the thunder. Not in the earthquake. But in the still, small voice. In the ordinary moments. In the choice to stay when leaving would be easier. In the willingness to show up, day after day, in the fields, in the work, in the love. The fields of Bethlehem are quiet now. The harvest is done. The workers have gone home. The stars are bright above the hills of Judah, ancient, unchanging stars that have looked down on this land for thousands of years. Somewhere in the darkness, an oil lamp burns in a small stone house. And inside, Ruth is asleep, at peace, at home, loved and known. And Naomi holds the child. And the story is complete. Let your body be still now. Let your breathing deepen, slow and easy, in and out. There is nothing more you need to carry tonight. You have been faithful. You have been present. You are here. You are seen. Your small acts of love are not invisible. Your faithfulness is not wasted. Even when you cannot see where the story is going, even when the road is long and the destination is uncertain, you are being carried. Under his wings, you are safe. Rest now. Sleep well. Let the quiet of Bethlehem settle over you like the cool night air. The lamp is still burning. Sleep. And now, as the night deepens around you, let us linger a little longer in the world of Ruth and Boaz. Let us walk slowly through the fields of Bethlehem one more time, breathing in the cool night air, watching the stars move quietly overhead. There is something deeply restful about this story. Not because it is without pain, it begins with death, with loss, with two women standing at a crossroads with very little. But because in the midst of all that loss, love held. Faithfulness held. And in the end, everything that had been taken was restored in ways no one could have predicted. Think for a moment about Naomi. She left Bethlehem during a famine. She left with her husband and her sons, hoping for a better life across the border. And then, one by one, the people she loved most were taken from her. By the time she turned her face back toward home, she was carrying nothing but grief. She had told her daughters-in-law to leave her. She believed she was beyond help, beyond hope, beyond redemption. She called herself Mara, bitter, because the sweetness had gone out of her life. But God was not finished with Naomi. He rarely is, with people who have loved faithfully. Even when they cannot see it. Even when they sit in the doorway of a borrowed room in the town they once knew, not quite knowing what comes next. He was working in the fields. He was working through a young woman's quiet perseverance, through a wealthy man's attentiveness, through a legal transaction at a city gate. He was weaving something together from all the broken threads. And one day, without fanfare, without a voice from heaven or a parting of waters, Naomi held a child in her arms. And the bitterness was gone. This is the shape of God's faithfulness in the book of Ruth. It is not loud. It is not showy. It moves slowly, through ordinary moments, through faithful people making small good choices. But it is inexorable. It is thorough. It does not waste a single thread. Consider also what it meant for Ruth to be a Moabite. The Moabites and the Israelites had a complicated history. There was old enmity between the two nations. A Moabite woman walking into Bethlehem would have been noticed. She would have been marked as an outsider. The social distance she had to cross, simply to walk into that field, to ask permission to glean, to keep working under the eyes of strangers, required a courage that the text makes look effortless. But it was not effortless. It was chosen, again and again, every morning when she rose before dawn, every hour she spent in the field when her back ached and the sun was relentless and the temptation to give up must have been real. She did not give up. And neither did Boaz. There was a moment when the easier path would have been to do nothing, to treat Ruth as one gleaner among many, to let someone else carry the weight of the family obligation, to focus on his own comfortable life. He was wealthy. He was respected. He did not need to get involved. But he saw her. And he acted on what he saw. There is a word in Hebrew, hesed, that appears 3 times in the book of Ruth. It is one of the richest words in the Bible. It means loving kindness, steadfast love, loyal love, love that goes beyond what is required, love that stays when it could leave, love that gives when it does not have to. It is the word used for God's covenant love toward Israel. It is the love that does not run out. Naomi prays that the Lord will show his to Ruth and Orpah in return for the his they showed to their husbands and to her. Boaz praises Ruth for the his she has shown to Naomi. And the women of Bethlehem bless the Lord who has not withheld his his from Naomi. Hesed. It is the thread that runs through the whole story. Ruth shows it to Naomi. Boaz shows it to Ruth. And the Lord shows it to all of them, working through their ordinary faithfulness to accomplish something extraordinary. This is the invitation of the story, perhaps. Not just to admire what Ruth and Boaz did, but to consider where hesed is being asked of us. Where is there someone who needs us to stay? Where is there a field where we could leave a little extra grain? Where is there a moment when we could spread our wings over someone who has come to take refuge? The world is full of Ruths. Full of people who have walked long roads from places that no longer exist, carrying grief and uncertainty, working steadily and quietly, hoping for a little kindness. And perhaps we are the ones who have fields. Let that thought rest gently in your mind, like a stone set down beside a still pool. Now let the images of the day fade completely. Let the thoughts and concerns and lists and unfinished things drift away like leaves on a slow river. They will be there tomorrow. Tonight, they can go. The fields of Bethlehem are silver in the moonlight now. The grain has been gathered in. The threshing floor is empty and quiet. The stars above are the same stars that looked down on Ruth and Boaz and Naomi and little Obed all those thousands of years ago, unchanged, faithful, steady in their courses. You are lying in the darkness, breathing slowly. Your body is heavy and warm. Your mind is growing quieter with every breath. Think of Ruth walking home in the early morning, before the town was awake, a heavy cloak full of grain on her shoulders, the sky just beginning to lighten in the east. She is tired. She is uncertain. She does not know exactly what the future holds. But she walks with steady feet, because she has done what was right, and she trusts the God under whose wings she has taken refuge. Think of Boaz at the city gate, speaking with quiet dignity, doing the thing that needed to be done, honoring the law and the woman and the memory of the dead, all at once. Think of Naomi in her doorway as the morning comes, the smell of bread in the air, a baby asleep nearby, the bitterness of her loss softened by the unexpected sweetness of a new beginning. These are ordinary people. They had no idea they were living inside a story that would be read for thousands of years. They were just doing the next right thing, in the fields, at the gate, on the road. And that was enough. It always is. Let your breathing slow now. In through your nose, deep and slow. Hold it gently. And release. Again. Slow and deep. And release. The night is quiet around you. The lamp has burned low. Outside, the stars will slowly in their ancient paths, and the world rests in the deep silence before morning. You are held. You are known. You are loved with a love that does not count the cost, a love that crosses every border, a love that follows you home. Under his wings, you are safe. The story is finished. Rest now. Sleep. Stay a little longer in the stillness. There is no hurry here. The night is long and gentle, and the story has done its work, settling into you like warmth, like the quiet after rain. Let your eyes be fully closed. Let your jaw relax. Let the muscles of your shoulders release, and your hands open softly, and your feet grow heavy and still. You are in the fields of Bethlehem in your mind. It is deep night now, the darkest, most beautiful hour, when the sky above is a deep indigo and the stars are at their brightest. The air is cool and dry and smells of harvest. Somewhere in the distance, a small fire glows at the edge of the threshing floor, its embers settling into red. There is complete silence except for the faint sound of the night wind moving through the grain. This is where Ruth slept. Under this same sky. Trusting the next morning to come. And it did. It always does. Whatever you are carrying tonight, whatever fear, or grief, or uncertainty, or quiet exhaustion from a long season of doing the right thing even when it cost you, lay it down here, in the field, under the stars. You do not have to carry it further tonight. The God who saw Ruth in the field sees you. The God who provided for Naomi in her emptiness is the same one who holds your future. The love that wove this story together is the same love that is working in yours, quietly, steadily, through faithful people and ordinary moments and doors opening where you did not expect to find them. You are part of a story far larger than you can see. Rest in that. Breathe in. Slow and deep. And out. All the way out. Again. The lamp in Naomi's window is still burning. A small, steady light in the darkness. It has always been enough. It is enough tonight. Sleep now, beloved. Deep and peaceful and unafraid. The fields are still. The stars are bright. The story continues. And you are in it. Sleep.